LittleGunBunny, and today I'm outside because it's so lovely, and I have not been outside all winter because it's winter and I'm in New England and it sucks. But it is actually so nice out today, so I had to come outside to film. It is warm enough out that I'm able to wear this outfit comfortably, but there's still snow on the ground, which is just kind of amazing. I am not somebody who tolerates cold amazingly well, so that's telling you it is actually like really warm. I think it's like 60 degrees right now. So, and I'm sitting in the sun, so I'm actually really comfortable. Yeah. But welcome back to my channel. Hopefully editing will enjoy the natural lighting of the sunlight instead of me in my like a windowless room. If you're wondering why I'm dressed as a flapper again, we are talking about possibly my, I don't know, maybe my historical crush of the month. I think I get one new historical crush every month. Let's be honest here. Yeah, my historical crush of the month. Okay, wait. Alright, we're good. My historical crush of the month, Mary Louise Celia Texas Guinan. And before you say, Bunny, you can't have a crush on somebody that lived 100 years ago. Sorry, I'm just looking at her dates of birth and death. Oh no, let me just do something really quick. Okay, she died kind of young. She died when she was 49. You can't have a crush on somebody that lived 100 years ago. I say to you, you can't have a crush on somebody who lived 100 years ago, and I say, fuck you, have you heard of Sir Francis Drake? He's sexy as fuck. Okay, if you don't have a crush on Sir Francis Drake, why are you even at this channel? Let me have a crush on Texas Guinan. She's amazing, and we're gonna talk about her today. And because I was so sad about my Flapper Guns video not having enough guns and stuff, some of the guns and a little bit about those, like a little bit of history about those guns. So it's gonna be a mix of like her badassery, and then some of the guns that she's been known to use, and there's information about how I found some of this information, because it is fucking hard to find information on stuff like this. As I was saying, I want to do more series on things because I love history, especially love the 1920s and also the cowboy era, so I really want to do more info on these. And I think this is actually a really interesting intersection of the two, because people in the early 19th century really were obsessed with cowboys. I mean, it makes sense with the whole, like, how the West was already kind of, like, showbizified when it was really happening, but I think that's really interesting. So this is a woman who started in vaudeville and burlesque, became the first two-gun cowgirl action movie star, and then turned bootlegger. So kind of, alright, I'm gonna get that later, but I'm gonna get something so I don't get more splinters. Okay, there. Anyway, and she went through an amazing life for only being alive for about 50 years. So let's get into this. Not only did she accomplish all of this, but she actually also had a huge impact on the early nightlife of the nightlife of the early 20th century. Was really into cowboy movies, was an amazing performer on screen and on stage, and even with live guns, which we know for kind of a famous incident that happened with that. And probably a good idea of why maybe don't use live guns in your burlesque performances. Like, I know they're sexy, but like, yeah. Says me with the YouTube channel that is basically just live guns and burlesque. Crap. So we're going to talk about her life, the guns we know she used, as well as some info on those guns for a mix of her story and her life, as well as some fun gun facts, learning about this badass Roaring 20s woman. And since a lot of you know how I love the flapper movement and era, I also want to say she was a big icon for the flapper movement and was a big part of the nightlife and the flapper movement in general. So let's honor one of my favorite flappers from history. Born on January 12th, 1884, actually still pretty stock, at least she was born in the, endish era of what we think of as the Wild West. Still in there. She's not, you know, in the 1900s yet, but like she kind of, at least, you know, as an infant, was able to witness some of what the Wild West was as we think of it. You know, the 1880s is what we think of as, you know, some of the best clever guns, Annie Oakley. So this was definitely, she was still definitely part of the Wild West. Her early life is a little bit complicated. She said that she grew up on a ranch and learned to shoot at a young age. And most sources I found agreed with this. But one seemed to said that this was not necessarily true, and that in fact she made that up to kind of like give herself a backstory to go with her stage name and her persona. But since only one source said that, I really can't say that as fact. But let's just take both of them with a grain of salt, as in, who knows? So we don't really know. I'm gonna go take out my splinter actually because it's really bothering me. I'll be back. I'm also back with my cowboy hat because it's quite sunny out here, and I realized I've been squinting a lot. So even though it's not technically historically accurate for this outfit, it is very accurate for Texas Guinan. Guinan? I really don't know how to pronounce. I couldn't find any pronunciation guides on her last name, and so I apologize if I pronounce it differently. I might just call, you know, her Mary or Texas or whatever. So let's move on from her early life. So she either learned how to shoot young or didn't. But we know that from an early stage, she did start going by Miss Texas Guinan. It's spelled Guinan. So I'm just going to call her Texas. She is named after the state her stage name is after the state she's born in. She's from Waco, Texas. She started off in Vaudeville, which, if you don't know, is basically variety shows. It is rife with racism originally, but it also includes things like burlesque, which is basically sexual shows that include comedy, but vaudeville also includes things like minstrel shows, which is blackface and is really racist. Anything to like kind of like circus performances. Harry Houdini, so like magic tricks, was also vaudeville. I think Annie Oakley's performances would also be considered vaudeville. What you would almost think of as kind of like circus-y things now, but often mixed with a very sexual aspect, especially for women's performances. It's kind of what people did before watching TV. They went to go watch variety shows. Yes. So early on, she was very drawn to this cowgirl or Western persona. Very early on, taking on Miss Texas. She even did stints in rodeos, and eventually started going more in from just the small short form performance type things to musical comedies and even silent films. These silent films were where she started to portray a tough, gun-toting Western heroine, where she kind of pioneered this female badass in the genre, where women were really only constrained to the damsel in distress or the prostitute in terms of what roles they would play in the story of a Western. There was never really this gunslinging badass girl, where Texas, really kind of came into this, not fully shirking her femininity, but definitely challenging the perceptions of it, which is very, very prominent in the flapper movement, and this is a great representation of it, and this is great, lead up to her becoming this big, star in the flapper world. She is taking the ideas of femininity and traditional femininity of the time and challenging them in a way that still honors herself and isn't completely just, at least in my opinion, trying to emulate the men fully. She's doing it in her own way, which I think is really badass and I think is really cool, and you should go watch some of her movies if that is your type of thing. But her big thing was becoming this two-gun action hero. I would like to let you know that some information about my channel. First off, that I am only funded by my Patreon. I will not be doing sponsorships or using YouTube's monetization feature, even though they've asked me twice now. So if you are interested in that, you get extra LittleGunBunny content, and it starts at $5. So my link for the Patreon will be in the description below and on screen now. I also have a PayPal box where you're welcome to send me things. I will soon actually be putting together a requested list of guns and tactical gear and stuff that I like, including ammo. If people want to send me things that aren't a subscription-based service, or if you just have stuff lying around. So that will be being compiled soon, and I will keep that updated so people can know, like, oh, what does she own, what does she, etc. I also want to say that I post videos every Monday and Thursday, so come to my channel and check out there. I do a good mix of things. I do everything from competitions to trying new guns to cosplay, shooting in cosplay, more goofy videos kind of like this, making cosplay, and just also pure goofing off. I also generally document my journey through guns and opening a gun shop. Let me think. I have social medias, which are on the screen over here somewhere, where you can follow me, but I mostly post on YouTube and sometimes on Instagram.